Hi, this is Andy Turner, the Education Technologist at Illinois College. Today I want to show how to use Opera Dragonfly in order to inspect the document object model. Here I have an HTML web page that I've created using some source code that I have uploaded into Canvas so that you can check out the source code and download that. I have assigned those peer reviews to students in the internship. And if you want to look at those source files, you can do so by going out to login.instructure.com, and you can request access to this internship. So basically what you can do is you can look at this assignment, and I went ahead and submitted files as myself for the third week out here. Actually, the week 2 progress. So here are the files: interaction.css, interaction.html, and interaction.js, and I have them all right here in Sublime Text. First off, we have an HTML file that basically sets up 4 different divs. Divs are just a division of a web page. I have my JavaScript here, which is a small array of objects that have a name and a value. Name, value, name, value. Notice this property is this name of the value. So I'm calling stuff the fourth index here, and then I'm going to get the value from this name. So basically what this is doing is saying go out and select the test3 div that you've made here, populate the HTML inside of that div with what's in this array, specifically the third index of this array, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then text1 is the name of that property. So you're really just drilling into the dirt to get the gold, right? So CSS is basically like objects as well. Notice you have the curly braces, key value, key value. I'm saying that the div3 for the ID number, notice this div number, that's an ID. You have a keyword here in CSS, color and black. So I'm going to change the color black to red in Opera, just for our purposes. So in this case I have hello world. Now this color is black here, see? What if I want to change that to red? Well, let's take a look at that. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to pop it back into the main window. So now, here we have hello world. I've grabbed onto that using Dragonfly, Opera Dragonfly. I'm in Opera here. I'm looking at that interaction.html file. Here it is. And in Opera Dragonfly, I've right-clicked this and I've said inspect element. Suddenly Dragonfly opens. I'm in documents here, and then on the styles, Dragonfly specifically is showing you what's in the inner HTML of this page. So if I select HTML, I'm looking at the inner HTML. Notice here div ID equal test0, and I have red. Here I have div ID equal test3, and I have hello world. Well, look at this, div ID hello world. Is that the same as this? No, there's no hello world here. That is right here. So that's what I get for free HTML generation when I say query the selector test3 and populate the inner HTML with what's in stuff3.text1. Here we go. Take that and put it here for me automatically. With such a trivial example, it's really hard to see the payoff, but what I can do is go to the Styles tab here using my selector, and I can click black, and suddenly I can turn that red. So I'm turning the div red at this point. What if I want to select the text, hello world? And I want to change that. Well, I can do so by making sure that I have the hexadecimal code up in the middle down here, and then I can change it to, say, a red all the way through the color spectrum. Now if I wanted to change red to black, I would select red, and I would go through here, and then I would be able to change red to black. Now notice my source code, as you could assume, isn't being changed or updated or anything like that. I'm just interacting with the objects that came from this source code. Basically, it's almost like cards were being dealt in a game where the card deck stays the same, but the hand is different for every game. When you put these objects into the browser, in the document object model, this model is laid out according to these pieces of structure. So for example, if you look through the nodes, we have child nodes in here, and you can look through those types of objects. There are objects that are populated by the HTMLs, the HTML codes calls to the DOM through JavaScript. So JavaScript is calling into the DOM. You know, it's saying, hey document object model in the browser. By default, you create this window object in this document object. Go ahead and now customize this window in these ways, with the styling, the programmability, and the structure. Notice the structure of the HTML doesn't necessarily map to the structure of the layout. So you can rearrange the layout in different ways programmatically. For example, if I want to move test 0 below test 3, I cannot drag and drop this element by looking at it and by interacting with the web page. However, if I change the code and I refresh the page, now I've put red at the bottom and blue at the top. So this is one way where you can see that the structure is defined by HTML. However, the layout is defined by the cascading style sheets. So if this were just a section of the page, we had header, footer, sidebar, body. That would be like a magazine style of layout, for example. Or maybe you had a layout in your web page where you wanted things on the right and things on the left. Those basically are arranged using CSS. Float left, float right. And there's a great book out there called DOM Enlightenment. And that's free to read. Check that out if you're interested in interacting with the DOM. And it talks a lot about how you can make calls into the document object model from the perspective of JavaScript, what the DOM is, and basically how to go about manipulating that. Secondly, if you're more interested in JavaScript, he has another book out, JavaScript Enlightenment, and I also recommend called Eloquent JavaScript. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name. Click the HTML link and you can go through and find basically what we've been talking about. How to look at an array of objects and then interact with those objects and build an HTML page. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks a lot and have a great weekend.